It's The Real World with Lee Anderson. And Lee, yesterday you welcomed Channel 5 presenter Dan Walker to your Ashfield constituency, and the ex-BBC host posted this picture of your sit-down on Twitter. But as woke viewers, they went into meltdown with the so-called tolerant left spewing hatred against you. It actually became so bad that Walker had to justify his decision by writing, "The bile surrounding this post is bonkers. He's the deputy chair of the ruling party. The insults and threats on here are saturated in the prejudice the authors claim to detest." So I found this absolutely fascinating, Lee, the fact that Dan Walker even felt that he had to justify the decision of having you on the show. And it does show you that these people are not used to the media actually having a range of views.
Well, I'll say to Dan, I've gotten really well with Dan, surprisingly enough. And I would say to Dan, welcome to my world, because this is a daily occurrence, Dan. This is the kinder, gentler politics, the Be Kind Brigade. If you disagree with anything they say, they immediately on social media pile on you and call you all sorts of horrible names. Their language is vile. The threat, they try and intimidate you. They try and drive you up. You've seen it yourself, and you've seen this many, many times on Twitter. It actually does people like me a favour, because the normal, sensible people out there watching this, they're not commenting, they're not saying anything. They're saying, "My goodness, look at the left." When you click on these profiles of these nutters that are saying these horrible things, it's a Jeremy Corbyn picture. It's
EU flag.
Don't blame me, I voted Remain. I'm a socialist. Hate the Tories. F the Tories. This is what's happening.
100%. But the point is, Dan Walker shouldn't even care about what a small minority of people on Twitter think. Did he do any gotcha questions or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
So it was a fair interview?
I think it was fair, Dan. But to be honest, I've done interviews before where they've twisted things around and they've altered the order of things.
In the edit,
try and make it look stupid. But I think it was a fair interview. We'll see. I'm not sure how many people watch Channel 5.
Not that many.
Probably about 20 in Ashfield, but we'll see tomorrow night.
OK, good. I'm looking forward to it. But look, I wanted to get your reaction, Lee, to something that I spoke about in my digest tonight, which is a comment that I believe is actually racist from the Labour MP Dawn Butler, talking about your Home Secretary, Suella Braverman. Watch this, Lee.
I think they're kidding themselves and are extremely delusional in thinking that they will be seen differently when push comes to shove. They get promoted because of the things that they're saying. So you couldn't really have a white Home Secretary saying the sort of things that Suella's saying and get away with it that easily, I don't think.
So, Lee, you're the deputy chair of the party. Is Suella Braverman only in her job because of her ethnicity?
Well, Dan, that's the first time I've seen that clip, actually, and that is actually disgusting. You know, this is a Labour Party that will have all in shortlists. They will select and recruit and promote people based on their sex. For Dawn to say that, that's probably, since I've been elected, the most awful, disgusting, and it's quite racist thing I've ever seen. Suella has been promoted on merit. You know my feelings towards Suella. I think she's absolutely brilliant. She has got balls of steel. She's a superb politician. She's up against it on a daily basis. And for this female MP to say that in public, absolutely disgraceful. Keir Starmer needs to call her out. He needs to have a good, strong word with her, because the people in this country do not like stuff like that. This is disgraceful, Dan. Absolute filth.
It is. And it's so hilarious, isn't it? Because, yet again, from the left, who see racism all the time when it doesn't exist and then are actually racist themselves. She should be celebrating Suella Braverman. Doesn't have to agree with her. She should say it's great that a woman of colour has reached this top position. But you know what? I don't even view Suella Braverman as a woman of colour. I just view her as a great politician, just like I did Priti Patel before her and Sajid Javid before that. It's completely irrelevant there.
Why do they always come back to colour now? Like you say, I look at Suella as...
It's an obsession.
I don't look at the colour. I look at the person. As simple as that.
Indeed. Now, look, I want to talk a bit more about Labour, because did you see this interview that the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has given to the Sunday Telegraph? She's trying to say that Labour's going to be a low-tax party, Lee. Speaking of wealth taxes, she said, "I don't see a route towards having more money for public services that is through taxing our way there. It is going to be through growing our way there." But the paper's deputy editor, Jeremy Warner, less than convinced, writing, "It remains deeply unclear how the party would fund its ambitious spending plan." So can we take Rachel Reeves' word for it.
No, we can't, Dan. I mean, it's very funny, this is, because we're a year away from a general election. Slippery Starmer and people like Rachel Reeves are saying all the right things. You know, they sound almost conservative in some of the policies they're coming out with. But, you know, when it comes to the crunch, these are the people, Dan, that are continually saying that rich people, business owners, entrepreneurs are the nasty, evil people of this country. We're going to put wealth taxes on them. We're going to tax them more. But these are the wealth creators. These are the people that create the jobs. These are the people that put money in people's pockets. And all of a sudden, the Labour Party are turning round after saying all this stuff in the past and saying that they are the party of business. They're not the party of business. You know, any rich person in this country, and again, I reiterate that the rich people who own the businesses are creating the wealth in this country. They put money in our pockets. These are the people that the Labour Party are going to attack. They think it's clever. It's not clever. We need these people to stay in this country and create this wealth which generates all this income for us.
Hasn't been a good week for Labour, has it,
No.
with the introduction of the ULEZ expansion in London. The problem is, Lee, we know, because she said it, Angela Rayner revealed Labour's plan for this to go nationwide. So again, is this just talk from Keir Starmer when he says, I don't want Sadiq Khan to roll out the ULEZ expansion?
It's lip service. That's what it is. He's frightened to death of Khan. Emperor Khan, that's what he is in London. He's like I said last week, Dan, he is a law unto himself, is Sadiq Khan. Like I say...
because he thinks he won't lose.
He thinks he won't lose. He's smug. Keir Starmer's frightened to death because he knows if he starts upsetting people like Sadiq Khan, then there's a big chunk of his party that will start
turning on him.
But if he'd got any balls, if he'd got a backbone, if he'd got a spine, he'd call Sadiq Khan out every single day on this issue. You've got pensioners now in outer London, pensioners who are on a pittance of pay. They're having to pay £12.50 now to go and see their family a day. What a shocker that is.
It's disgraceful. Honestly, the number of people who are emailing me, Lee, and saying they will no longer even be able to leave the house each day because they simply cannot afford the cost. Because remember, there are some folk, all they would have to do is leave their driveway and go to the supermarket.
The cheek of it, the cheek of the Labour Party and Sadiq Khan and Slippery Starmer, they're banging on about the cost of living crisis, that people need more money in their pockets. And what do? They go and steal £12.50 a day out of some of the poorest people in society, out of their pockets.
By the way, on science that has been swindled and doesn't head up, which is a whole other story. But look, finally, Lee, got to speak to you about this cultural issue. What do you make of the Kent Fire and Rescue Service telling staff that they have to use gender-neutral language during emergency call-outs in order to embrace diversity? So if your house is burning to the ground, you don't want to be misgendered, apparently.
Well, again, Dan, I mean, if your house is on fire, say you live in a block of flats, you're on the top floor, that's on fire, the fire brigade come, and the chief shouts up to the building, before we can turn our hoses on, before we can put a ladder up, we need to know what pronouns to use. What a load of nonsense that is. All these people are interested in is to make sure the emergency services get there as quick as possible and rescue people. Like I said, Dan, before, there are a bunch of idiots in this country who lie awake at night thinking up of this nonsense. And I tell you what, when we eventually get these Rwanda flights off and running, get these idiots on the next plane and send them as well. That's a picture.
Lee Anderson on fire tonight. And of course, Lee back with more of his Real World, 7 p.m. Friday night. Cannot wait. Thank you so much, Lee.